So we're just going to look at a very standard transition to our outside De La Riva. Just going to look at taking a cross collar grip. I'm going to step my foot either on his shoulder or on his hip. Either one doesn't really matter. And my bottom arm is going to be looking at reinforcing my De La Riva leg, and I'm going to make a grip at his heel. My goal here is to use that off balance I mentioned earlier, where I force Finn to place all of his weight onto this far leg as I take this foot off the floor. So I'm going to use a push-pull. I'm going to push away first, and as he comes back into me, I go knees to chest, and then I'm going to start to rock my hips off the floor as I bring my head and shoulders to the mat. Now I'm going to start to stretch both my knees over my head. And from this spot here, once I get to a spot where his foot is off the floor, what I'm going to start to do from here is I'm going to start to take my foot out and step it on his far hip. Now I'm going to take my foot off of his shoulder as I use a pendulum motion, as I start to spin myself all the way to the outside. As Finn squares up, I'm going to start to throw my foot all the way to the far hip. And I'm just going to switch my ankle grip. So I'm going to go from my initial bottom hand grabbing the ankle to my initial top hand grabbing the ankle. And now I've created that angle where I'm all the way on the outside of his hips. Now I can start to expose his back for a basic baby bolo sequence. It's important to note with this transition to the outside De La Riva, we don't have to go all the way onto our head and shoulders to free this bottom leg. If I'm quite square with Finn and his hips sit behind my hips, if I just start to extend my knees and kick away, I can still take weight off of this leg. So if I can take weight off of this leg, I can still bring my foot back to the outside. It's just important to note that we're not going to have that very deep angle where we have back exposure. So just looking at the footwork for this one, as I kick everything away from me, I'm going to maintain my top foot on his hip as I loop my bottom foot out between his legs and to the far hip. Now I'm just going to use that same leg work as the previous sequence. I'm just going to lift my hips up like so, and both of my feet are kind of stepping on his hips. And I'm just going to swap from my right hand grabbing the ankle to my left hand grabbing the ankle. And in the process of turning my hips to my left side, I'm just going to make my De La Riva hook. And now we're back in our outside De La Riva.